So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time for a presentation on the power of AI, namely how best to scale it and make best use of it within your organization. Our esteemed speaker on this topic is a man who's been working with the top 20% of the best-known data-driven clients around the world. And his years of experience span many companies and blue chips, not least IBM, Big Blue, and SAP. Please put your hands together for Sid Bhatia. He is the Regional VP and General Manager for Dataiku, Middle East. Thank you.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. My name is Sid. I'm the Regional VP and General Manager for Dataiku. And I don't have the clicker. Awesome, I have it now. Why the bird? That's a very interesting question, actually. So a lot of people ask me, how do you pronounce this company? It's called Dataiku. And Dataiku, basically, what it means is data, which is data. And haiku is basically a Japanese poem written in a very well-structured format. So our company was founded in Paris with 4 people back in 2013. And our founders were very inspired by Japanese culture. So they named the company Dataiku or Dataiku. And they picked up the bird. And the interesting story about the bird is that bird also refers to bird's eye view of your infrastructure. So what that means is that with that logo, you basically get an idea of your entire infrastructure. So a lot of people look at Dataiku, interestingly, as an orchestration layer, which means that you have access to all the data that you have in the enterprise in one single interface. So that's where Dataiku comes from, and that's where the bird comes from. I hope I answered your question. So I think I'm still struggling with the moving the slides. Can somebody help me out with that? The green one? Okay, awesome. Perfect. If it works. It does not. Awesome. So I can continue maybe talking about Dataiku while this is being fixed. So just to give you an idea, I think it's been fixed now. So I was actually trying to compile this whole presentation yesterday. I was doing my bit of research as well in terms of the latest articles that are out there. It goes without saying that as far as machine learning and AI initiatives are concerned, they're very much here. The problem statement is different. The problem statement is this. The problem statement is the new challenges in integrating technology, people, and processes to deliver extraordinary results with AI at scale. Now, I was speaking to a lot of people in the morning and, interesting conversations. I asked posed them that question, what's avoiding you in terms of scaling AI within your organization? The common feedback was that, yes, we have 3 or 5 use cases. We have these common use cases that we can deliver quickly to get results, but we really can't scale AI. And asked them why you can't scale AI. And very interesting, topics came to the fore, that how do you bridge the gap between the technical audiences and the business audiences? We still have data quality from the past and it's compromised. So data in and data out is not going to make much sense. There are various references to handling multiple infrastructures. Everybody wants to invest in open source, but at the same time, the IT is there to make it compliant. So how do you make that balance and that choice? So a lot of interesting aspects that came out of that conversation. Bottom line being that as far as AI is concerned, in my opinion, the biggest challenge is to make sure that people can collaborate very well. And the clicker is not working again. Or maybe it is. Now, when we speak to a lot of people, I was speaking to people in the audience, and of course, Dataiku being a leader in machine learning and AI, we speak to a lot of CDO organizations out there. And it's interesting that there are these underlying tensions, and I like to label them as well in the conversation that we've had. When you're designing the AI strategy for the organization, they're very interesting conversations, and they are 2 different sides of the coin. But they're difficult choices to make. So tomorrow, if you're building an AI strategy where you want to go ahead and invest in a data science and machine learning platform, you're probably doing great good for the data scientist community. But at the same time, the business analyst community might not be very well versed with R and Python and open source. They still are pretty much looking at Excel sheets and Power BI and Tableau. So that's a very difficult choice to make. Another thing is unleash innovation. You want to actually give your data teams the power to actually experiment, prototype, play with different data sets, play with open source and come up with an innovative solution. But that's prototyping. We want to operationalize that the IT would come in and they would actually put in those compliance policies. So it's a choice between, obviously being innovative and at the same time being compliant from a governance perspective. Another interesting aspect is about demonstrating value fast. So the same conversation, we've got 3 to 5 use cases that we've identified, and we're absolutely going ahead and implementing that, and that's great. But the reality is this sustainable? I mean, you can have your quick initial wins, no doubt about that, but would the AI system break over a period of time? Have you kept into mind the whole operating models in picture? So it's a very difficult choice to make at that AI strategy level. So the question then is, you need to make those choices between or and. I'm pressing the green button. Okay, thank you very much for that. So the question is, do you want to actually settle for or you need to settle for and? The point is, at that CDO level or the AI strategy level, of course, there are difficult choices. What if you have an option today to actually take all of these opinions together and come up with an AI strategy that works for everybody in the organization? And this is where Dataiku comes in, where we say that you need to harness the power of and, where both the choices, both the personas, and everybody can work together without compromising on anything. And that basically converts into business value for the organization. So imagine this graph, and this graph talks about the blue line and the red line. So if you restrict your innovation to a bunch of people within the organization, like it's been traditionally done, you take the number of people who are engaged, limited number of people, into a limited number of business applications that they're going to work on, you'll see, obviously, the innovation, and you'll get to a level of expert AI, but it would have limited reach. Whereas, if you make a choice to actually empower the entire organization, which is the red line, where everybody in the organization can work on a data science platform and can work on each and every application within the organization, the returns could be absolutely marvelous. So you basically get to a level of everyday AI and extraordinary people, where the entire organization can take data-driven decisions, because now everybody in the organization, regardless of their roles, it could be a business analyst or a data scientist or a line of business manager or a Python champion or somebody from a statistics background. Do everybody have a common understanding of data? And if they do, and they work on each and every application out there, you're not talking about five use cases, you're talking about 50, 100, or 1,000 use cases for the organization. And this is how you scale AI within the organization. The biggest challenge, though, is people speak different languages. So if you look at this little graph that I put here, you've got different personas. You've got the persona of a business analyst who speaks a different language, a business analyst who speaks a language of an Excel sheet, Tableau, Power BI. A data scientist would understand R and Python and all of open source libraries like scikit-learn and MLlib and TensorFlow and H2O, whereas a data engineer is busy creating data pipelines and optimizing that. Now imagine a scenario where everybody in the organization is focused on their own aspect of the machine learning journey. Some are focused on data prep, others are focused on auto ML solutions, the other focusing on the API integration. What that does is the problem statement. You still have different people with different backgrounds who speak different languages, and silos of data, silos of people get created within the organization. The good news is, this is where Dataiku comes in. Dataiku today is positioned as the platform for machine learning and AI when you're looking at scaling AI within the organization. So what we do is we basically cater to every persona within the organization, be a business analyst, data scientist, data engineer, somebody from a line of business manager, a cloud architect, somebody with a statistics background. Everybody has common understanding of data, and you cater to each and every aspect of the machine learning journey. Now, if I've been able to generate interest on Dataiku, let me take this next slide to give you the value proposition. It's a very important slide in the sense that this is what we do as an organization. So in 2 lines, Dataiku is an open platform. When I say open, what we do is we have an open architecture. We embrace open source in the purest format. So all of the innovation that's happening in open source is something that is very well integrated within the Dataiku interface. We are collaborative. Like I said, people from different personas can work very well. We are an end-to-end data science platform. Look at those 5 circles. And that talks about the value proposition. So if you're a Dataiku customer, you can actually go ahead and cleanse and wrangle the data, build and apply machine learning models. You can do a bit of mining and visualization, do deep learning, and in the same piece of software, in the same interface, you now have the ability to do one-click deployment into Kubernetes. So you're able to basically go ahead and operationalize the models. And at the same time, you can do AI monitoring as well and make any kind of adjustments. So all of this is happening in one single interface. Now, that's a very powerful value proposition, and that's what we do. If you look under the architecture, that's the flow. It's the canvas, where you've got one simple canvas that takes you right from connecting to any kind of data to doing data preparation with a few clicks and making sure that you do auto ML on top of it and operationalize the models. The good news is on that side, you see the visual recipes and the coding recipes, which means that the visual recipes are going to appeal to the business side of the story, where people can use those out-of-the-box operations, 97 of them, by the way. They can simply drag and drop and create those machine learning models using the AutoML interface. At the same time, the coder community or the data scientist community is going to be happy as well because they get to work on R and Python in the raw format. So you're catering to everybody in the organization, which basically means that what Dataiku does in terms of scaling AI is that we take care of the tech. Your full automation of the data pipeline, the 5 circles that we see, and the automation that you see. So it takes the complexity out so that the data teams can now start working on delivering value for the organization, the use cases. And that's what we do very well. I've cited 3 examples right at the bottom of the screen. If you can see it, GE Aviation is one of our largest customers in the US, and their data teams were able to actually productionize projects in less than 2 minutes. So you have a prototype ready, you can go ahead and do one-click deployment on Kubernetes, and you deploy the model. We have an investment bank in the US, 500 plus users on the same platform. They delivered 2,000 data products in 2 years. And last but not the least, Aviva Life Insurance, where you have the data teams which are 5x more efficient. So alone on the data prep side, you'll see a 90% reduction. And that's how the value gains happen. And that's how you start scaling AI within the organization. All right, so just to summarize from an architectural perspective, this is one slide. If you want to really understand the architecture of Dataiku. What we do is basically on the left-hand side, you see all these data sources. Data could be structured data, semi-structured data, data at rest, data in motion, any kind of data. You've got out-of-the-box connectors for any kind of database that you see. On the other side, you can have your favorite BI tool. So obviously, data in and data out is not a problem. And all of that you see is basically a console where you have the end-to-end data science platform, most importantly, with the right kind of centralized governance, audit, collaboration, and that talks about scalability. So once you have this in your organization, you can actually do it on-premise, and we're also available on all the 3 clouds as well. So that's a value proposition from an architectural perspective. All right, so this is an interesting slide, and of course gives you an idea in terms of the use cases that are quick to execute. Now Dataiku as an organization has more than 500 customers, and we've delivered thousands of use cases on the platform. The broader point I'm trying to make is when the tech is taken care of as an end-to-end platform on data science, all you need to care about are areas that you want to look into, which are low-hanging fruits. The broader point I'm trying to make is as long as you have the data, you have a platform like Dataiku, and you have the use cases in mind, you can go ahead and implement those use cases. Now, interestingly, the first 2 or 3 use cases might be difficult to implement. But the incremental cost as you move across the organization is going to be way cheaper. So you'll see a lot of benefits apart from just the scale. So just to summarize then, my little talk here, in terms of what you can expect with Dataiku is the platform gains that you get. Something I've given some proof points on the right-hand side as well. But again, the 3 points here, number 1 is speed and agility, which means that you can actually do more analytics with the data that you have across the organization, because now you have all the data in one single interface. You can deliver more and more use cases, so you can be focused on that. Second thing is the cost of doing this becomes lower as we grow. So delivering 5 use cases versus 50, the incremental cost is going to be low. So from a TCO perspective, it's very effective. Last but not the least, control. Now you have 100% auditability on the platform, which means that tomorrow, from a regulatory compliance perspective, if tough questions are asked, you have answers to all those questions. It's a very solid platform when it comes to the whole concept of explainability or responsible AI. And that's only on the platform side. Remember that slide from the use cases, and then you can actually take the value even further because these are the platform gains that you see when you deploy the platform. But that is what you see when you actually start aligning your use cases to the C-level value drivers like increasing revenue, decreasing cost, or improving customer satisfaction. So yeah, that's the value proposition then. Don't take my word for it. You can actually go ahead and log on to a website, and this is a good white paper that you might want to download, which is basically from Forrester that says that organizations that deploy Dataiku have seen 423% return in the first 6 months. And again, this is a study that is verified. Go ahead and take a look. Like you see, certain stats, like 90% of the manual repeated work can all be automated, and the payback is in 6 months' time. I'd like to just quickly summarize in terms of scaling AI, and I'll go through the list that I created last night in terms of the lessons from the field. So if you're looking at scaling AI within the organization, the top 10 points, and I'll read it out for you, is that first you need to understand the value drivers, get executive sponsorship from the top, and have very strong business champion. Second thing is, of course, identify areas of opportunity across the line of businesses, improve or include all talents, train your people, invest in certifications, identify the right use cases, look at the top 3 use cases that you have for the organization, go ahead and get that first win, measure the value of that, and start communicating that internally within the organization. And it's an iterative process. And you don't need to start with a big bang approach. We at Dataiku strongly believe you need to start small, have a very clear use case understanding, and deliver it as fast as you can, and communicate also as fast as you can. All right, so my last slide is who we are. We just offer one product, which is called Dataiku DSS. We're a Gartner leader when it comes to machine learning and AI. So Gartner releases this whole matrix around DSML, which is data science and machine learning platforms. We're pretty much the leader in that space. If you look at the Gartner Peer Insights, we rated 4.8 on a scale of 5. And then, of course, we've got customers across board, across different sectors. We work with all the cloud vendors and a lot of partners here in the region. My last slide is this, which is that we are very much in the region. We have a large team, team of about 25, and about close to about 30, 35 customers, large enterprises here in the Middle East. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.